This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on air pollution, causes, effects and control. The participants are Mukul Sanwal, former UN diplomat and environmentalist, and Omvesh Upadhyay, AIR correspondent.
India's capital city, Delhi, experiences some of its worst levels of pollution during winter. Several factors affect the air quality of the national capital region, like burning of farm stubble, factory emissions, traffic fumes, and general weather patterns. The residents of Delhi NCR are compelled to breathe in hazardous air. People are facing serious breathing issues with the deterioration of air quality with each passing day. Every year we witness a surge in air pollution during winters in Delhi NCR. According to you, what are the major factors that contribute largely to the problem of air pollution in the national capital region?
Delhi is unique in the sense that it is surrounded by mountains, and during the winter season the air quality deteriorates because cold air sinks to the ground, wind patterns change, the pollution is not dispersed. So whatever is generated in the area in and around Delhi settles down into Delhi. Now this is not unique in the world. For India this is unique. But we had the same situation in Beijing and in Los Angeles. The difference is that in both Beijing and Los Angeles, which had the same geographic and meteorological conditions and temperature patterns, but a lot of the pollution was industrial pollution. Now it is relatively simpler to deal with point sources of pollution, that is pollution coming from a factory, a power plant, because you can use technology to change the composition of the pollutants. But where you have dispersed sources of pollution, like stubble burning in a vast area in this period, and vehicular pollution, which is called non-point sources of pollution, it becomes very difficult. And technology or regulation is not the answer, but behavior change is the answer. For example, more metro, more buses, odd-even arrangement for cars, carpooling. And for stubble burning, the situation is even more behavioral and economic because there is a very small window for farmers to cut the old crop stubble and plant a new crop. This is irrigated area. They want to take the maximum crops to get an income, which is normal. Now the problem in Punjab and Haryana is also unique in a sense that a lot of depletion of groundwater takes place for paddy cultivation. Now we went into paddy cultivation as part of policy to increase food grain production, and paddy is very water intensive. Now the Punjab farmers are advised not to use groundwater but to plant with the onset of the monsoon, so that delays planting. When it delays planting of paddy, then they have a very short window, roughly just a month or less than a month, to remove the old stubble and plant a new crop. Now they have found that to remove the stubble using labor or machines is time consuming. It costs money. So they burn and they replant. So this has become a regular feature, and we need to seriously think through how we are going to deal with non-point sources of pollution in and around Delhi.
Definitely, sir. And when we talk about that, the air quality is deteriorating and lot of technical details are in talks. For our listeners' knowledge, I would like you to please answer that. What is this fine particulate matter 2.5 and under what weather conditions it suddenly increases in the atmosphere?
The particulate matter is a loss of dust. Some dust comes from the Thar Desert. Some dust comes from construction activity. Some dust comes from the ground which is not covered by grass or trees or concrete. So there is a lot of dust in our conditions. What happens in winter, that in addition to this particulate matter, you have certain particulate matters coming out of the fumes of the diesel cars. That is why there is a restriction now imposed on diesel trucks, old diesel trucks particularly. And France, for example, has wanting to phase out diesel cars from Paris. So the characteristic of diesel is that the smoke or pollution that comes out reacts with the atmosphere at a certain temperature and becomes ozone, which means that it becomes toxic. It becomes into a chemical reaction which makes it toxic. And that is what causes irritation in our throats and in our lungs. So here we have a situation that you have some irritation because of dust particulate matter and some irritation because of the ozone in the atmosphere, where the fluid, the pollution from a diesel engine at a lower temperature reacts to and gets converted into ozone. Now that is what we call smog. And you can notice the difference when there is no sunlight. Dr. Guleria, who was in the AIIMS, has just advised people, particularly the old and those who are suffering from infection, that if you step out only during sunlight, because in sunlight again the chemical composition changes. Because in the period just before dawn and dusk, where the temperature is low, that this chemical reaction takes place, you step out early in the morning at 6 o'clock, you see some kind of a whitish smog, and that is very harmful. So what we are finding is that this problem is really limited to the winter months, November to about February. Right now we are talking about health issues, about construction and stubble burning. Very soon we may need to talk about planes not being able to land or take off from Indira Gandhi Airport. So that becomes another feature as it progresses. As the situation gets worse, in these 3 months, approximately 3 months, we have a severe problem of a mixture of non-point sources of pollution, climatic conditions, our geography, and the fact that we have at least 3 sources of pollution which are all non-point sources. That is dust, vehicular pollution and stubble burning.
Okay, so when we talk about that, how diesel vehicles are contributing in smog, and then that will ultimately contribute to more severe problems like we will be not able to breathe the right air for our health. The air quality index of Delhi reached extreme serious, or we can say a severe stage. So under this, the Delhi state government had implemented some restrictions on private diesel vehicles, and as you told us about that, how harmful the diesel vehicle smoke is. So do you think these restrictions on private vehicles will help? And if yes, at how much extent?
We have to see the particular situation we are in, which has no parallel in other countries like Beijing or Los Angeles, which have similar problems because of the stage of development and the socio-economic conditions that we are in. Now, it is easy to say that we will not allow trucks to come in unless they are carrying essential commodities. But Delhi is a very big center, and every day it depends on fresh fruit, vegetables, industrial equipment, goods, services to be brought in and trucks to go out. That this can only happen at night because of the traffic problem. But then at night, where the fossil fuel, the diesel fuel, because of the low temperature conditions and wind patterns at this point of time, make the problem even more serious because it is concentrated at that time. And in the morning when people get up, they find that there is heavy smog. So we are solving one problem, but we are creating another problem. When we say that diesel private vehicles will not be allowed, then the experience of Beijing has been that people buy more cars. One with an odd number, one with an even number. Now there is enough wealth in Delhi for people to start thinking like this. That most households, or a lot of households, which have 2 cars, will have odd and even number cars. So it does not help. Basically, again, we have to ask a very fundamental question, that this is a problem that takes place every year for 3 months. What can we do throughout the year, or as a long-term measure, to reduce this problem? Having been the first Joint Secretary of the Pollution Control Division in the 1990s, I can say with a relative level of confidence that it is very difficult to control old sources of pollution which relied on old technology. When we are buying new cars today, they are relatively pollution-free or very low pollution. Hybrid cars are coming in. Electric vehicles are coming in. So very soon when the transition has taken place, when more than half the vehicles are electric or hybrid depending on battery source or electricity as a source of propulsion, the problem will come down. It is in this transitional period that we are facing a problem because of the historical decisions which we took, the old technology which we have. Similarly, it is possible that cropping patterns may be thought to be changed. If we can find something that gives the same amount of money to the farmer and is not prone to pest or other problems, the farmer will shift. So that calls for more research, but a different kind of research. Can we look for a paddy variety which takes less time to ripen? Then the cutting season or the burning season can be lengthened. We know that in October, the wind pattern is such that it will not affect us. It is only in November, December, January that the wind patterns are such that leads to settling of the air in this part of India. So I think we need to look at very different solutions to what worked in Beijing, Los Angeles or any other city, because our situation is completely different.
Definitely, Mr. Sawal. And when we talk about what ways we can bring restriction and solutions for this deteriorating air quality, recently the 8-point action plan as per stage 4th of graded response action plan was applied. Could you please explain what this 8-point action plan actually is?
Basically, what the 8-point action plan says is that let us cut down on the sources of pollution which can be easily or more easily cut down. Stop construction, restrict diesel vehicles, close schools, particularly primary schools. Now, what happens when you look at this as a total picture? If primary schools are shut down, a lot of the bus traffic in the morning is cut out. But the children remain at home. They are still smelling the same air. They are still breathing the same air. Construction work. Now what happens to the labor? What about someone who has planned construction in a manner, has got the material and is not able to do the construction in the next 2-3 months? There are delays. There are projects where delays will take place, have cost a lot of money. People will seek exemption. Similarly with the cars. We say that essential commodities can be allowed inside. But what is essential? Very soon we will find a lot of people are coming inside. The point I'm making is that yes, these are emergency measures which should bring down the level of pollution. But it has to be seen how much lower this pollution will be, say tomorrow or day after. My own feeling is, and that is what had been discussed earlier also here, that some of these steps need to be taken before we come to 500, so that we don't come to 500. Once we are in 500 and then we start taking some steps, the effect will take a couple of days. By then the air conditions or the weather conditions change, and as it is, the pollution level comes down. So the second point I wanted to make was, one was the historical pollution or the technology that we have been adopting in the past, very difficult to change. The other is that we have to recognize that we can never have very good in Delhi at this time unless we move out of vehicles completely and get into electric vehicles. And that will take time. So over time things will change. The question is what happens between now and then. I think the key point there is we need to build up a monitoring system that will alert us before we are likely to get to 500.
The air breathable quality is decreasing. It is not only for Delhi NCR, but in recent past we have seen that many cities like Lucknow, Kanpur, Agra are also experiencing this. So how do you think that is this affecting tourism industry, and what are the ways that we can at least try to not experience that bad air quality in smaller cities compared to Delhi?
You see, you have made a very important point. Agra. Now, the pollution control system in Agra started something like 40 years ago, where the concern was yellowing of the marble of the Taj Mahal. The diesel yard, the railways using coal were discontinued. Factories in Firozabad, the glass factories were made to shift to gas. Other restrictions were imposed around the area of the Taj. Crematorium was shifted, electric vehicles were introduced, vehicular traffic was not allowed, trees were planted. But that takes care of the pollution at that point of time. As development takes place further, as cities expand, more vehicles come in, this problem will keep growing. So the problem is there, has been there, the nature is changing, but the impact is changing even more, which we are not calculating. You have made a very important point by focusing on tourism and economic activity. When we look at the cost that this is imposing on society, we look at the cost on the human being. We don't see the cost that falling tourism numbers impose on the country as a whole. The income that is generated from tourism, the income that is generated from factories is huge. We need to look beyond pollution to see the economic and social activities in the entire area, how they are affected, what changes are taking place in them, and how a holistic plan can be prepared, which is not just a pollution plan, but also a social and economic plan that will change the economic activity or give certain incentives for certain kind of economic activity, so that the individual, but also the economic activity that can take place.
You very rightly pointed out that only with collective efforts we can achieve a better air quality to breathe and live in. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. Thank you so much, Mr. Sawal.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on air pollution, causes, effects and control. The participants were Mukul Sanwal, former UN diplomat and environmentalist, and Omvesh Upadhyay, AIR correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR.